good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. How are y'all? So this is not like any of the other lessons that I've actually given. This is a tuning and intonation lesson. This is actually one of the additional ways that people actually ignore as far as having good tone. When it comes to being on the tone journey, the tone quest, finding the right tone, one thing that you cannot negate, you cannot neglect, is having proper intonation. Now, for some, this can be kind of tricky. Many people know how to tune a guitar, but they don't know how to set their intonation. Many people, they switch their guitar pickups to try to find the right tone, but they still neglect to do the intonation. This actually takes your tone, your guitar tone, to the next level. Because when your strings are vibrating correctly in relationship to one another, it sounds better. When it's off, it's off. All right. So just briefly, I'm going to talk about what tuning is. I think we know what that is. It's just making sure that each string is the right note. You get your tuner out and you match. Well, you hit the string and you turn your tuners to the correct note, which in this case, that's a low E. We know that. That's common knowledge amongst guitar players. Should be. But when you tune your guitar, what you're only tuning is the entire, you're actually tuning the note according to where the nut is. Okay. Based on where the string is laying on the nut, that's what you're tuning the string to. And it's basically just the overall length, okay, that you're tuning. But intonation is furthermore fine-tuning the length of the string. So much so to where you want for each note to not only be correct at the nut, but you want for each note to be correct at each fret as well. You also want for each and every note, especially the notes after the 12th fret, you want for those to be correct as well. And when your intonation is correct, when the length of your string is correct, then your intonation is at a good balance. Okay. And to be quite honest with you, it's not going to be A1 100% perfect. It's not, because there are so many variables. You have the fact that the wood of your guitar contracts and it expands. During the summertime is doing one thing, during the wintertime is doing another thing. If you're not keeping it in a climate controlled environment, you have to keep all that stuff in mind, and you have to frequently check your intonation. Even if you're tuning your guitar, after I put strings on my guitar, I do the intonation every time. And when I tune my guitar, I don't set my intonation every time, but I still check it. I just quickly check it and just, go about my way. But if there is something that needs to be adjusted, if I set my intonation previously, let's say a few days ago or a week ago, then it's very small adjustments and it's very quick. Okay. And sometimes you have to do nothing, but you have to keep in mind, you're going into environments that are super AC, then you go into another environment where, maybe it's outdoors, it's outdoors and you're in some heat. So the materials of your guitar is going to do different things. Yes, you can plug your guitar straight up and it will play, but I cannot guarantee you that it's going to sound like it should. And a lot of people are not going to say to you, dude, your guitar sounds like it was out of it. A lot of people are not going to say that. Some people, if they hear a lot of effects and distortion, they just like, yo, let's get in it. They just like the energy that the vibrating strings bring. But, you as the guitar player, you have to feel what you're playing. And one of the ways that you can really feel what you're playing is have that intonation correctly set. All right. It will take your tone to another level. I believe it'll give it that extra 5% bump, almost instantly, and you will actually feel more motivated to play. Okay. A lot of times people spend time tuning their guitars, so much so to where they get a little discouraged and they don't want to play no more. All right. So I've been talking for 5 minutes. So let's actually start to get the tuning. All right. So we're going to focus on tuning initially, and then let me move this over here. And then we're going to actually start setting the intonation. Okay. All right, so here's my tuner. It's just a polytune, a lot of us have it. All right, I'm gonna tune my E string. So here we go to the E string, and all right, that's pretty much in the middle. All right, let's go to the A string. That's pretty much in the middle. D string, pretty much in the middle. It's off a little bit. And I mean, if it moves a little bit, I'm not tripping about it, but I know when it's balanced and when it's not balanced. Okay. I also pay attention to if I'm tuning, and let's say we have it to this E right here, and see how the little green lines are not moving. I'm looking at that too. So even if it is on that E, there's a possibility they can still start waving, something like this. Okay, G, it's not moving that much. But B is moving a little more than I would like for it to. Let me see what D does. Okay, D is not that bad. A is sort of moving a little bit. Yeah, A is sort of moving a little more than I would like for it to. All right, so let me just say this. So right now, my guitar is tuned. The strings are tuned, not the intonation. Okay? Difference. There's a difference. So once your strings are tuned correctly, we got to go to the next step. But let's talk a little deeper about what intonation is. Intonation, I guess, in my opinion, is not only tuning your string, okay, the entire string, but it's actually intonation is actually setting your string to the correct length. And I think in theory, I'm not going to give any technical terms, but it's supposed to be equidistant between the nut and the 12th fret and the 12th fret and the actual saddle, okay, that the string is sitting on right here at the point of where it bends. That has to be the same distance as it is here. And if it's off, if it's a little bit off, you can tune the string itself to the correct note, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be correct at the 12th fret. Okay. So this is why some of you may play a chord down here, or you play chords down here, but if you try to play up here, it doesn't sound right. Or the higher up you go, it starts to sound a little bit off. So that's called intonation. All right. Now, if you want to adjust your intonation, and we're actually almost finished, but if you want to set your intonation, basically you go up to your saddle. Typically your bridge is here. Some guitars have, different things going on where it's like a headless guitar, and they have their bridge kind of set up differently and stuff. So, but in this case, I got a Strat, a parts caster, and there are some screws back here behind here. Okay. And you will typically it's either like a Phillip head screwdriver head, or like an Allen wrench screwdriver head. In my case right now, this is an Allen wrench, hex wrench, type thing. So that's what I'm going to use. So I would put this in the back, okay? And I would turn either this way, which for me is clockwise, or this way, which for me is counterclockwise, okay? You with me so far, right? So just, keep all those things in mind. What was the next thing that I was going to say? Yeah, I think we're good from this point. But basically, when you start to tune, you also want to see what it sounds like on the 12th fret, and you want to look at your tuner at the same time. So right now, I still have my tuner, set up. But I also, now that I did this, the E string, to me, it looks good, because a lot of times when you pluck it and it doesn't, not only is the green line in the middle, but also the little ridges around it, the lines around it are not moving either, because they can still kind of start to move even though the thing in the middle is dead on. Okay, so you want to pay attention to that. Go to the 12th fret. Okay, see what's happening? So even though my E string, when it was like this, it looks perfect almost. But at the 12th fret, it's not. Now, anytime, like, you can pretty much see how, and let me do this, y'all. I do apologize. Let me actually rotate this so that you can see it a little bit better. Because I don't even like guitar charts that are set the other way. I like guitar charts that look like an actual guitar fret board or guitar neck. The ones that are set up, I don't know why they do that. That don't make sense to me. I use it and I know what it means, but still. Anyway, so there's the E. Yeah, it's right there in the middle. It's hardly moving. But when I go to that 12th fret, it's doing that. Now, when it does that and it's moving to the right that way, this means that it's too sharp, which also means that the string is too short. Okay, so think sharp, short. All right. Sharp, short, almost like righty tighty, lefty loosey. You kind of have a little way to remember what it means. So in this case, if your tuner says that your string at the 12th fret is sharp, which in this case, if it's moving to the right like that, that means that your string is too short. So sharp, short. So what this means is that I want to make it longer. All right, so I think I got it right. Now this E string, I might have to clip the spring on it, meaning I may have to actually take the string off, or when I'm just changing my strings, take the saddle off, remove the spring, take the saddle off, and get the spring from it and kind of clip it in half so that I have a little more room to kind of get it further back. I used to have 10s on this and I put 9s on it, and 9s are a little more elastic. The lighter the gauge, the more elastic they are. So, little things like that. Those are all variables. All right. But listen. When your intonation is right, it makes a lot of things really feel better when you're playing. Okay. Now, if you don't feel confident, please take it to a luthier or a guitar tech. I think they're the same thing. Pay the money. Just have them to set your intonation correctly. Put a new pair of strings on, set the intonation correctly, and let that be that. Don't overthink it. But if you feel like you could do it yourself, give it a try. But just don't go wild with it. Just make very subtle turns and until you can notice a difference. And also keep in mind, if you have a fixed bridge, okay, or like a block bridge from your tremolo situation, you will have more stable tuning and intonation. I like the tremolo bar personally, so I like it. I prefer it. Since I prefer it, I take the necessary precautions to make sure it's the way I want for it to be. So the low E string for me right now is a little bit tad sharp. Okay, some of you might hear it, some of you may not hear it, but I'm all right with it. I might, like I said, take the string off, whatever, but when you add your reverb, so tone is not all about the actual timbre of the string. It's not all about that. It's also making sure that all of the notes are ringing properly. Okay, that's a part of it. And it doesn't have to be 100% exact, but it has to be really, really close. All right, it has to be really, really close. In fact, string ensembles are never exact. They tune to one another, but when they get there, they don't have fretted violins and double basses. It's always slightly a little bit off, which makes it sound better a little bit. So just know it doesn't have to be like some people make their intonation a little bit off on purpose, but you don't want it to be real off, or very off, in other words. So I have, my coil split situation like this, so it sounds very full and dull. Let me turn my mic down. Now I'm about to kind of split the coils and make it a little more brighter, and you'll see that regardless of if it sounds muffled or if it sounds bright, it's going to sound good. And another part is, even if I play high up on the neck, it still sounds in tune. So all of those things matter, okay? Your octaves, all those things, it just matters. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I already see I'm gonna have to clip this down a little bit because it took a little longer than I thought. But yeah, keep that stuff in mind. Make sure that your guitar is properly tuned and the intonation is where it's supposed to be. That'll automatically improve your tone, improve your. It'll inspire you to play more. Basically, you won't get as discouraged. All right, peace. Oh yeah, and welcome to the Guitar Players Club. I just want to make sure that I say that, and welcome. Hope I see you again.